So, hello and good morning. Each time you fall, you get up and run faster. That is a clear indication that the person is a very resilient person.
Resilience, an essential quality of a person with growth mindset.
So, today I want to talk to you about resilient. Now, life is definitely going to put up barriers, obstacles in our path, right? There are going to be occasions when we fall down. It's happened to me many times that you hit bottom. And that's the time resilient people bounce back. Those who are not, they remain there down in the dumps. Now, considering that life is going to be life, and there are going to be times when you face failure or adversity or trauma or stress. I mean, nobody can say that, look, I'll never have any of these things in my life, right? So the ability to be resilient, or if you're not, then to develop it becomes very, very important, because if you stay down for a long time, you're losing precious time that you need so that you can live a life that you desire. So let's look at some of the very important components of being resilient. People who are resilient are very aware. They are especially very, very emotionally aware. I don't know how many of you have noticed it. Many of our emotions, they work very insidiously in the background. We don't even notice it until maybe sometimes people point out and say, hey, listen, what's happening to you? Yesterday, I'd gone to my Rotary meeting and I bumped into one of our members who comes occasionally. And I happened to be there when he was there. And the first thing that hit me was, my God, he's been in this state for the last 4 years. I've been seeing him in that state. Very eminent guy. He was very good in his profession. But he's now out of his profession, and he's still out of his profession because he didn't get out of it so far. And he's been valuing in that emotion for such a long time that it looks quite normal to him. You know, when you talk to him, you say, I'm like this only. I'm to aise hi hain. So if you are aware, you can correct it immediately. So you and I have learned a lot of techniques. Question is to remember those techniques when you need them. Sometimes when you're down, somebody needs to remind you. So when I was coping with my late wife's cancer, the day I was told, and it was so devastating, and I was in that state, like really down in the dumps. Luckily for me, somebody who I have trained and coached over the years, he called me up. So I picked up the phone and he says to me, so Deepak ji, what happened to you? I say, why? What happened? I've never seen you sound like this. So the moment he said that, I said, oh, I'm valuing, I'm getting into that negative state. Get out of it. So immediately started, as soon as that conversation got over, I did something which we talk about almost every third day. I use the power of generation. I said, I'll have to generate another emotional state. This one is not going to work. But I was just not able to do it. So I said, now what do I do? I used another technique that I've been teaching. It's called putting my attention on 50 different objects, one at a time, giving full attention for at least 20 seconds to each object. So by the time I did that, I first did it in my room. Then I went out. We had a back garden there in Noida where we stayed, a lot of trees and flowers and nimbu ka ped and all that. So I went and gave some attention to those trees and all. And I was out of it. So being emotionally aware, and whenever you get into that negative state, use some mindfulness techniques like this. If you can't do anything else, take 5 very long deep breaths. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out 5 times, 6 times, as much as you can. And you'll be suddenly back. And pop a question. I say, these people who are resilient, they have positive thinking. What's positive thinking? The moment they notice that they're in that negative emotional state, they will immediately start to notice what their mind is saying to them. Like, for example, when that incident happened in my life, my mind was saying, oh my God, what am I going to do now? My medical insurance has not been renewed. What's going to happen? How am I going to deal with it? That was not a very positive mind state. So I replaced it immediately with an affirmation. I said, I've dealt with situations like this before. I can deal with this also. There are always possibilities of dealing with it. What is it that I want now? I defined my goal at that moment. Find an option to deal with it without having to spend too much money. The mind was saying, oh my God, I'll have to sell my bungalow. I made it with a lot of difficulty. I said, no, I will find a way how to deal with it without having to sell anything. I will find a way because there is always a way. What should I do now? What energy, space, and consciousness can I be that would allow me to deal with this situation with power and velocity? So, the moment you shift your mind talk, it's a self talk, from negative to positive, and you reframe what is happening. Now, when the mind is saying, oh my God, this is a tragedy, you reframe it and say, this is an event in your life, and you can deal with it like you've dealt with every other event in life. Mind says, how will I do it alone? And you say, I'm not alone. There are people in my life. All I have to do is reach out to them. And the moment I did that, I started writing down names of people whom I know. And luckily, because of my profession and because I was, a landmark education center manager for such a long time, I knew a lot of people. I made a list, immediately found out I knew 2 people in the medical profession. One was a professor in Lady Argent Medical College. Another one was head of the department in All India Institute. I said, okay, good. What's next? And I asked a question also. I said, hey, listen, how can I make it possible to deal with this situation? So, putting a positive frame on whatever you are saying to yourself. And as you might have noticed, there is social support available if you put your mind to it. Like when I made that list of people and I called them up, I just put my mind on calling up these people one after the other. So resilient people get into action. They mobilize the social support that they enjoy. If they don't have it, they get it from somebody else. I mean, it came to a point where somebody came to our house and asked, when normally people come and say, oh, what happened to you? And at the end of it, he gives me a blank check and he says, well, sir, fill up any amount you want. That was a great encouragement for me. I gave it back, obviously. I said, listen, boss, I know that you are available. You will be supporting me. I'll take it when I want it. And there was 5 minutes to say, नहीं आप ही रख लीजिए, डाल देना जब डालना है. ऐसे जब चाहिए होगा ले लेंगे. So seek that social support that's available to you, whether you're aware of it or not. Resilient people also have another quality that they develop. Flexibility, adaptability. So, and that kind of a time in your life when you're going through adversity or trauma, obviously, if you keep trying to deal with it like you've always dealt with situation like that, may or may not work, right? This is not a situation that you are used to. Obviously, you're not used to adversity, are you? At that moment. Maybe you've had it in the past. You have some experience that you will get out of it. But if you've not had it in the past and first time you're facing adversity, you're going to crack unless you are, adaptable. It's okay, here is another situation. So a lot of people ask me, how do I adapt, sir? So very simple. How you adapt is by doing a couple of things which I told you first. And the next thing you do is you stop resisting that situation. You stop judging that situation. See, when an adverse situation happens, a negative situation happens in life, what do? We are judging it. Oh my God. Either you're judging it or you're judging yourself. What a stupid fellow I am. Like I was judging my accountant. What a stupid fellow he is. He should have. Then I was judging myself. You fool. You should have been supervising him better. This is something important. You should have told him. Why didn't you tell him? That kind of thing was going on in my mind. So judging and resisting the situation, it will make you feel bad. So instead of resisting it, I say, okay, let me experience what's happening. This is it. This is happening. What is happening is happening. What is not happening is not happening. So I'm not going to resist it. And luckily, I knew that disc creation exercise by then. I'd learned it many years ago. So I just sat there, allowed myself to experience the sensations that were going on in my body. I was aware of my thoughts and I'd kind of replaced them with positive thoughts. I started experiencing the sensations in my body. And when I did that, I was able to expand them. So instead of wasting time in resisting, I was actually allowing. See, when you are in an adverse situation, there's a very big emotional pressure on you. And since you and I don't like it, we are trying to push it away. That's a sign of resistance. No? So instead of doing that, start experiencing it. When you allow yourself to experience it, you will find that the intensity of the emotion will become stronger and stronger. Don't fight it. And at some point, you'll see that it actually disappears. Otherwise, you consciously expand that feeling and you make it disappear by doing the disc creation exercise, which I have already taught you. So those who did not see it, you can go back, look at some of my videos on YouTube. You'll learn how to do that, right? And that is the time, you replace that negative talk that you're doing and say, it's good this has happened. There is a reason why it has happened. Some learning is available in it. Nothing happens without a purpose. So this has happened because I need to learn something from it and I am going to. So let me find out what this situation is trying to teach me. So when I did that, I immediately realized what that situation was trying to teach me. I will not share that with you right now. The moment I realized what it's trying to teach me, there was a lot of relief in my mind. I said, oh, I just gave it up. I'm not going to do that anymore. So when you get that relief, it is very important to set your goal at that time. So obviously, at that time, what would your goal be? Get out of adversity is one goal, right? So what is the goal to get out of that adversity? So a couple of things I had to do. Okay, where will I get the resources? Who should I talk to? I have to find the right doctor. I have to find the right hospital. All these became my goals, right? At the same time, my business, which would obviously suffer if I'm not available to conduct it, because I'm the one who has to go and do the training, right? So set up a goal for that also. And the moment you set up a goal, then actions will come to your mind. Okay, I have to do this, I have to do this, and focus on getting those things done. And when you do that, your mind doesn't have time to dwell on all the negative thoughts and negative feelings. Because those negative thoughts and negative feelings are not going to help in dealing with that situation. Only action is going to help, and a positive mindset is going to help. So, resilience is a quality. Now, I've been working on it to become a resilient person. That's why I was able to deal with it with relative ease. It's never easy to deal with adversity, right? But I was able to deal with, relative ease, I can say. So, how do you practically become a person? How do you build up your resilience? I'll give you a few tips to do that. So, the first thing is you've got to practice self care. What does it mean? You have to constantly work on mental, physical, emotional, energetic well being. Okay, so you do mental housekeeping regularly, deal with your transparent beliefs, deal with your body through proper exercise and nutrition and rest. Okay. And I think above all, develop the awareness to know when your mind is getting into the judging mode and the deciding mode and into the right, wrong, good and bad mode. Have that awareness to be more present, to be more in allowance. These things don't just come just because you decided it in 1 minute. Huh? All those who have learned this whole thing about allowance, you will see that it takes time to be in allowance, because the moment there is judgment, there is no allowance. So we are very good at accepting situations, but acceptance still has judgment in it. No? So practicing these things regularly, body, mind, emotions, will make you a more resilient person. Then very good practice is to develop a solution oriented approach in life. Mind gets stuck on problems. So, knowing fully well that problems will come sooner or later, training the mind not to waste time resisting the problem, but immediately finding a solution to the problem whenever it happens. Now, you have to develop this habit. When there is a small or big problem or an obstacle, if we develop this habit of immediately saying, hey, listen, what's the solution for this? What else is possible here? So, by doing this, we are developing an automatic mode of dealing with problems when they happen, and we are not thrown or surprised by them. Another exercise that I found very useful, like when I'm sometimes finishing my meditation, I'm in a higher state of awareness, I would reflect on my past experiences, especially the negative ones, and remind myself how much learning I got from those past experiences. And I am actually able to say, thank God that happened. This was the benefit I got from it. Thank God so and so was rude to me. This is what I learned from that situation. Thank God somebody gave me very, very nasty feedback. This is what I learned from it. For some of you, you may find it easy, better to do some journaling. You can actually write down about what happened in the past and what benefits you got from it. I did another technique which I'd like to share with you. And I was regularly doing it, and that helped me. And you know what that is called? It is called auto writing. And actually, over the years, before this tragedy happened, I had built up a notebook of about 7 or 8 notebooks I had full of this. And there was such amazing knowledge that was coming, and I really don't know where it was coming from. It was coming from my subconscious mind, or it was coming from whatever entity claimed that I'm talking to you. Most of the time, it was my mother talking to me, and I was just writing it down. My hand was moving automatically. I couldn't even recognize my handwriting. So a lot of these techniques that we practice here in EMC also, I can tell you, my friends, if you do them actually in life, like a lot of people say, why are you doing it every day? Why not once in a week? Why not twice in a week? I said, listen, there are certain things, if you are in that every day, it is very slowly building you up as a person from the inside. So you might have noticed we are working on mind, body, emotions, energies, all that stuff almost every day. We are not just spending time and doing idle chit chat, are we? So what are the important points that we've discussed today? The important points that I've discussed today is, how do you become a self-reliant person? How do you become a resilient person? What do you do when adversity hits you? So I'll very quickly recap that for all of you. When you're dealing with a situation like that and you want to be resilient, practice emotional awareness. Then practice those techniques of emotional regulation, like breathing, like being aware of 50 different objects and all that. Be aware of your self-talk and replace all negative self-talk with positive affirmations. Don't be afraid to reach out to your social connections. There is a tendency to isolate yourself when you're upset. I mean, there is a tragedy, you don't want to talk to people and all, but make sure that you do that. Practice the art of being adaptable. Don't be rigid in that situation. Be open to whatever possibilities are. And don't forget that to deal with that situation, you'll have to set a goal and start working to fulfill it. Now, if you start doing that, I think you will become a great resilient person. So I want to leave you with one exercise that you can do after the session is over. Pick up a notebook, spend say 10 minutes remembering any past challenge that you had in your life. Write it down, and also write down what did you learn from it, how did you overcome it, especially what you learned from it. And that's a very great reminder that every experience is an opportunity to become a better version of yourself. So guys, here's to being a resilient person.
जिंदगी को खुलकर जीने के लिए एक छोटा सा उसूल बनाएं। जिंदगी को खुलकर जीने के लिए एक छोटा सा उसूल बनाएं। रोज कुछ अच्छा याद रखें और कुछ बुरा भूल जाएं।